So many choices. What's up guys, it's Paul from Ecommerce Gold, and in this video I want to try and help you choose the perfect e-commerce platform for you and your business. Now, if you're just getting started in your e-commerce journey, you may be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. It may seem a little bit daunting when it comes to choosing the e-commerce platform because there's just so many options out there. And if you are feeling like that, don't worry, you're not alone. Pretty much everybody who started in e-commerce has felt this way. I know I did when I started all the way back in 2012, which seems a really long time ago when I say it like that. But yeah, I found the exact same thing. I found it completely overwhelming. Which one should I go with? Because I didn't know anything about e-commerce. I knew nothing about e-commerce websites. So I was in the position you are in now. So that is why I wanted to create this video, to try and help you and guide you through the process of choosing the e-commerce platform, because over the years I have developed a process, and that's what I'm going to go through in this video. And it's also the process I now apply to whenever I do my reviews and comparisons. So if you've ever watched any of my reviews or comparison videos, there's a few elements in this video that you're probably going to recognize. So with the introduction out of the way, let's jump into the video and get this started. Now, the first thing you need to decide is, are you going to go down the hosted or the self-hosted route with your website? This is very important because it's going to influence all your decision making further down the line. But if you're not sure what the difference is between these two types of e-commerce websites, don't worry, because I'm going to explain that for you right now. A fully hosted website is something like Shopify or Ecommerce, and with these you pay a fixed monthly fee. They generally start from around about $30 a month. It can be slightly more or slightly less depending on the platform, and for this you get web hosting, a website builder, and generally support thrown in for that fixed monthly fee. And these are a great option, in my opinion, for people who are just getting started with e-commerce and building websites. The reason is the platform takes care of all the technical aspects for you. So they take care of the web hosting, they take care of the performance. They also take care of a lot of security aspects of your site. So they make sure that your hosting is secure, they make sure that your SSL certificate is secure, they make sure your admin is secure, as long as you don't give out your username and password. They generally take care of all of that for you, leaving you to focus on the business aspects of your site, such as marketing and generating sales. And this is great for people who are just getting started, because the learning curve is much shallower than trying to do everything from scratch and learn to be a web developer and also build an e-commerce website and business at the same time. Now, unfortunately, there are a couple of downsides when it comes to fully hosted e-commerce platforms. The main one being is you don't own the website. You're basically just renting it off the e-commerce platform. It's like going out and renting a shop. You can customize the look and feel of the shop and you can generate sales through it, but you don't actually own it, and you can't pick that shop up and move it to another location. It's exactly the same with fully hosted e-commerce platforms. So if you use Shopify and you wanted to move to Ecommerce, you can't take your Shopify store and move it over to the Ecommerce. It just doesn't work like that. You're going to have to go to Ecommerce and build a new website on their platform, because they just don't move across. Unfortunately, that is the way it is. So the second type of e-commerce website is self-hosted ones, and this is where basically you buy some web hosting, and when you're just getting started, normal shared hosting will be more than enough to get you started. You don't need any fancy e-commerce grade stuff when you're just getting started, because basically you're not going to have the traffic volume and sales in order to justify buying specific e-commerce grade hosting. So shared hosting should be enough to get you started. But these are platforms like WordPress and WooCommerce, OpenCart, PrestaShop. These are what's called open source platforms, and they are very good, and they're a very cheap and in many ways cost effective way of getting started, because web hosting can be had for around about $5 a month, which is pretty cheap. But the thing with this is there is a steeper learning curve. This is because all the technical aspects that I mentioned about fully hosted platforms, you're going to have to take care of yourself. Yes, it's your hosting company provider's job to make sure that your web hosting is up and running, but in terms of your actual website up and running, if there's any conflicts or problems with the website, they're yours to resolve. It's not your web host problem to make sure that your website's up and running. They just need to make sure the hosting environment is up and running. So all the technical aspects do fall on your shoulders, which I say isn't great for people who are just getting started with e-commerce websites. But on the flip side, the website is yours, you own it. So if you fall out with your host or you're not happy with the hosting, you can pick your website up and you can move it to another host. Lots of them do free migrations, so this is a really good thing. Another thing is generally you get more control over the website because there's more access to the source code, and generally there's much more in terms of customization options, especially when you're looking at something like WooCommerce, which is a great base for a variety of different types of e-commerce websites. So that's the basic differences between a fully hosted and a self-hosted website. Now I hope I've explained that clearly enough for you and you now understand the difference. But before I move on with the video, there is one thing I do just want to quickly talk about, and that is what some people have said in my comments recently, and that is they've asked about starting with one platform and then moving over to another platform later on down the line. Now I really advise that you don't do this. Think long term about the platform. Think about being with this platform 2, 3, 5 years. The reason for this is it can cause a lot of problems when you move from one platform to another. And the main reason for this is most of them have different URL structures. So basically when your website starts to rank for the platform that you're already on, search engines like Google and Bing have already indexed your site. They know the way this structure operates on your site. And basically when you move over to a new platform, these search engines, when you submit your new sitemap, are basically going to be indexing a new site. All the existing structure that you had from your old site is gone. You're submitting a brand new website, and even though your domain name stays the same, the actual website behind it can be completely different. So I don't recommend moving from one website platform to another unless there's some really good reason that you can justify why you need to move from one to another. If you can, stick with the platform because it's just going to help your business in terms of marketing and SEO in the long run, sticking with the same platform. I made this mistake early in my e-commerce career. I moved from one platform to another literally a few months in between, and I wonder why my site wasn't getting traffic. The reason was I was creating brand new websites every single time, and I'd submit the sitemap, and basically search engines were having to start from scratch to index my site. So don't do this. Think long term with the platform that you're going to go with, because it's going to make it so much easier to rank your website and hopefully start getting organic traffic to your site, which generally is the best traffic for an e-commerce website. I just wanted to cover that because I know a lot of people think along those lines, but honestly, if you can avoid it, don't do that. So once I've decided whether I want to go hosted or self-hosted, there's 5 main things that I look at, and if you've watched any of my reviews, you'll probably recognize these. So the first thing is the price. Now we all have to operate to a budget. It'd be lovely if we had unlimited funds, but unfortunately that's not the case for pretty much any of us. So price is an important factor, and a lot of people will just look at that monthly price. So if it's Shopify, they'll look at that kind of $29 a month. But there are other pricing elements that you do want to consider. One of those is themes. How much do themes cost? Is it a one-off payment for life, or is it an annual payment? Also, if you want custom work done on the theme, is that going to cost money? Can you do it yourself? Can you outsource to a developer? How much is that going to cost? Also, another thing you want to look at is basically feature extensions. So outside of the core features that the platform offer, how much is it going to cost to add extensions such as plugins or apps? Is this a one-off fee? Is it an annual fee? Is it a monthly fee? These are all things you want to think about when you're looking at the platform. Now, you may not need these things to start with, but as you're progressing through the platform and your e-commerce business is growing, these are things you might need to invest in. So you want to get a good idea for how much these are going to cost, so you can basically budget for them. So if you know a theme is going to cost you around about $200, you can put $200 to one side. If you know that the apps range from anything from $5 a month up to $25 a month, you know how much that's going to add to your monthly cost for your e-commerce website. And it's all these things that you want to look at when you're just getting started looking at these platforms. What could the potential additional cost be further on down the line? Because if it's going to be really expensive to add additional features, maybe that platform's not going to be ideal for you. So make sure you look at all the associated costs that's going to come with your e-commerce website, so you know that potentially how much it could cost you on a monthly basis going forward in the future. So the second thing is the features that the platform offer. Now, when you're just getting started with e-commerce, honestly, you're not going to know what features you're going to need, because it's a learning process when you actually run your website. Let's go, oh, I need this feature, I need that feature, blah, blah, blah. But one thing you do want to look at when you're looking at the platform is basically what features do they offer on the core platform and what extensions do they offer. I've already mentioned this in the pricing one, but what plugins they offer or apps they offer depend on the platform. Basically, they all operate the same, they've just got different names. But what do they offer? What's the library of extensions like? Is it a very small library? Is it a very large library? Now, with things like Shopify and WooCommerce, the amount of extensions is absolutely massive that you can get for these platforms. For smaller platforms, things like OpenCart, 3D Cart, the amount of extensions and customizable functionality is much smaller. And it's understandable, larger user base, larger amount of customizations, smaller user base, smaller amount of customizations. But it is something you do want to look at when you're looking at these platforms. What features do they offer as standard, and what features can you potentially add to your site in the long run, and also how much are those features going to cost to add. And when looking at features, there's basically 4 categories that I break them down into. The first one is e-commerce tools. This can be things like, can you sell physical and digital products? Can you offer gift cards? Can you offer discount codes? All things like that. Then you've got marketing and SEO. Can you add a blog to your site? Can you add custom metadata? What other marketing and SEO features do they have? Can you integrate with social media platforms, things like that? The third thing is the reporting and analytics, because you want to analyze your site. You want to see where your traffic's coming from, where your average sale is, things like that. Basically, any information and data you can get on your site is going to help you make educated decisions further down the line. And the fourth thing is the amount of payment gateways and payment options that are available, because you want to have a nice variety of payment options on your e-commerce website. Now, with a lot of fully hosted platforms like Shopify, they come with a large amount of these platforms built in. But then you go over to something like WooCommerce that's self-hosted, and the amount of platforms available as standard is pretty slim, and you find that a lot of payment gateway plugins are actually you have to pay for, and these can cost anything up to like $79, $99 a year. So this is something you do want to look at. How many payment gateways are offered, and do they offer additional support for other payment gateways, and also do you have to pay for them? So those are the 4 areas that I look at when I'm looking at the features of an e-commerce platform, because they're generally the 4 most important ones you're going to use when you're running your e-commerce business. So the third one is the theme selection and the customization options. And to me, this is a pretty important thing, because you want your website to fit your business and your brand. You don't want it to look generic and like every other e-commerce website that's running on that platform. So you want to make sure that they have a good selection of themes, and you also want to make sure the customization options are good as well, because it's something that unfortunately a lot of platforms fall quite short on, and you're basically stuck with kind of a generic looking theme. So this is why it's quite important to me, because I like to be able to make my websites fit me and my brand. To me, it's a very important thing. So it's something that you do want to check out on when you're looking at sites. What's the theme selection like, and what's the customization like? And the fourth thing I look at when I'm looking at e-commerce websites is the support options that are available, and also the amount of resources that are available online, actually outside of the platform. So when it comes to support, it's the support you're going to get directly from the platform. Now, with hosted solutions, you generally get much better in terms of support options. Things like Shopify and BigCommerce offer 24/7 support to all users. With smaller platforms, you don't quite get 24/7 support, but there's still generally really good support options there. When it comes to self-hosted platforms, you don't really get that much in terms of support. It's understandable, they're giving you the platform for free. It's not their job to actually support you in order to building the site up, unfortunately. So in this situation, you need to look at the resources that are available online. The first is the documentation that the platform offers. Do they offer good, comprehensive documentation? Fortunately, from my experience, everybody offers really good documentation. But outside of that, outside of the actual platform, what are the resources that are available online? Is there a large community who's there who can help you when things go wrong? This is very important on self-hosted websites. And you've got things like WooCommerce that has a massive online community. There's lots of bloggers, there's lots of YouTubers dedicated just to that platform. With smaller platforms like PrestaShop, and even smaller ones than that, the community is much smaller, and this can mean getting answers to your problems could be a little more difficult. So it is something you do want to consider, is what the support options are like, and also the amount of resources that are available online. So the fifth and final one is, how easy is the platform to use? And to me, this is arguably the most important point, because if you find the platform difficult to use, you're going to be fighting against your platform all the time, and it's going to make your website so much more stressful to use, and your business so much more stressful to use in general. That is why it's so important to me to you find a website that you find easy to use. And often you can compromise on other things. You can compromise on features, the amount of themes that are available, all those other things you can generally compromise on a bit in order to use a platform that you find easy to use, because it's just going to make your life so much easier. And even someone like me who's used to testing lots of different e-commerce platforms, it's still a big factor when I first sign up. How easy is that platform to use? And that is why I go quite a bit in depth into it when I do my reviews and my comparisons, because I want to try and convey that to you guys. But you guys need to go and test it out for yourself. And fortunately, you can do that with pretty much all hosted e-commerce platforms, because most of them offer either a free trial or actually a free plan. So you can go and test it out and see how easy you find it to use. And generally within a couple of days of using it, you'll know whether or not you're clicking with the platform. If you find it really difficult to use and you're just not getting on with it, just walk away from it, go and try something else. It's not worth forcing yourself to learn something, because it's just not going to be worth it and it's not going to be productive and beneficial for you. Instead, move on, find something that you find much easier to use. Now, if you want to go and test out self-hosted platforms, you can do this by going and buying some cheap monthly hosting. There are hosts out there that do charge by the month. Get one of these. It might cost $5, $10 for the month. But what you can do is you can go in, install the platforms that you want to try. So if you want to install WordPress and WooCommerce, test that out, install OpenCart. You can do that by creating subdomains if you want to. There'll be documentation on the host website as to how to do that. Install all these ones, try them out, see which one you like the most, and then that's the one you're going to go with for your business. Now, if you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button, because it does help the channel out a lot. Also, if you want to see more e-commerce related content, hit that subscribe button, because I do post e-commerce related videos on a weekly basis. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by buying me a coffee using the link in the description below. So that is my process for testing out e-commerce websites and basically deciding whether or not that's ideal for a project that I'm going to use. Now, let's say this actually was developed from me starting in e-commerce back in 2012, and it's been developed over the years, and it's what I use whenever I'm looking at an e-commerce project. I need to find the right e-commerce platform for that project. But how do you actually make a short list of platforms that you want to try? This is where people like myself, other reviewers, are a great source of information, because we've gone out there and we've tested out all these platforms. So see what we say, have a look at our YouTube videos, have a look at our blogs, and go through and read lots of different blogs. The reason is we've all got different opinions on platforms. There's no one of us that is right and there's no one of us that is wrong. It's all our opinions. But if you see that there's certain platforms that are recommended over and over again, add these to your shortlist. And when you've got a shortlist of, I don't know, 3 to 5, start going and testing them out, start trying them for yourself, and you'll start to realize when you're testing out all of these platforms that there's certain things you like about certain platforms, and you'll also get more comfortable with trying and using these platforms, and it will make the decision process just that much easier, because you just feel more comfortable in what you're doing. So go out there, see what people like me are saying, see what we recommend, create a shortlist, sign up for trials or get some hosting and try them out for yourself. See what you think. Whichever one you feel most comfortable with, whichever one you enjoy using the most, is probably going to be the best option for you. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. As I say, if you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate it if you could drop a like on it. But make sure you guys stay awesome, and I'll see you all next video.